Thank you for watching. I'm Linda with Seaporium. We are moving out of this store. We're going to be doing more studio time. We're going to have a booth down at Picket Fence Vintage on Cape Cod. So we got a lot of exciting things happening, and I'm trying to get this piece ready on top of packing up and everything. I'm trying to get this piece ready for my new booth. This is a Rockford Furniture Company bureau. Not sure the age. It does have, dovetailing. It's mahogany. It's been a process, as anything with mahogany, and you're talking at least vintage. You've got prep involved, and we've been doing various videos on that, and I've been doing some shorts and all that. So make sure you catch some of these videos. I have one more to post. I didn't have time. I have it up on YouTube, but yeah, we are available, here on Facebook, on our website, on YouTube, and I do videos on Instagram, and then we do little quickies on TikTok as well. So we're at the point where I've tested a piece, and apparently I have enough primer down. We used the Dixie Belle Boss. It comes in 3 colors. I used clear. So it doesn't look any different than the other videos, but it is protected. I have a piece here. All right, let me get it up into, it's not yellowing through where it was bare wood. And this actually has less coats of the primer than this does. So I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. So, that's a thing. I do need to test the drawers. I always like to keep testing them along the process, and I haven't done that yet. So I might have to take the drawer sides and sand them. I keep testing to make sure that the drawers will open and close well. One of the things, if I don't ever get to it, and I'll say it now because it's in my brain, and that's how I work. I have to spit it out while it's in my brain. Is when everything's all said and done and I have top coat on there and it's dried a day or two, I do like to run a little soap along the openings and along the edges of my drawers, or if it's a piece where the drawers sit out front of the openings, I will put it on the back lip of the drawer, only because a lot of times my pieces go out right away, and they're not sitting on my floor open for a month. Okay, should you need to close those drawers, or even like in here, in the Cape, a lot of people are seasonal people in their cottages, and these pieces will sit in a cold winter without heat, and then they go in the summer, and maybe they have air conditioning, maybe they don't, and a lot of times the heat and cold and stuff, you can get where the paint will stick a little bit. And some people say, well, rub a candle on there, and yes, you could do that, but if it's going to get really hot, what happens with the wax? It melts. So that's where I go to, using soap. So, hey, Bobby, there you are, girl. Thank you, thank you. You're the best. Hope Mom is well. So, I did a video where, I did do a light sanding before I did my 3rd coat on my top here. And that means I took a 220 grit. If I had, don't mind me, I have a hair in my tongue. If I had a 300 grit, a 400 grit sandpaper, I would have used that. It was just, a lot of times when you use a water base on bare wood, it will raise the grain up a little bit. It's like, it was so dry, it was like thirsty, and it just like opened up the grains. And so when you ran your hand along it, it was like sticking a little bit. And a lot of times that will self-correct once you start adding paint. But on the top of a piece, I like to go do that extra measure. Good, good, good. I'm glad Mom's doing well. So you're watching on Facebook. Anyone watching on YouTube, feel free to comment as well. Our website, you can't comment, but you can certainly watch and contact us in other ways to ask questions. We're not on Instagram today because I'm going to try and get an overview shot when we're painting the top of this. I haven't done a lot of prep getting ready for this video because you know me, Bobby. I'm in the moment and I go. So that's how that's working today again. And then I keep picking at my nail here. I should just, you know, if I get like a little catch on my nail, I can't leave it alone. I have to pick at it. And then I have no nail. It's awful. But at least I'm not biting my nails anymore. That was a problem for almost 50 years of my life. So I have a couple of palettes here. Let's start with the top. This isn't going to be a texture, actually. It's going to just be paint. I have my driftwood. All right. It's not that cold out today. I'm a little cold with all my layers on. I think it was like 48 when I came in, but it's a beautiful sunny day. So I didn't put on my floor heat today. So everything's taking a little longer to dry. Oh, dear Lord, girl. All right, there we go. I have been doing this saran over my jars now because it is just making life easier, but I haven't done it to that jar yet. You know, we'll get to it. So the paints you can stir, you hear me talk about this all the time. Paints and primers, top coats, you don't want to shake, but you can stir them. So you saw me shake it, I'm stirring it, you know, because it's a paint, I can do that. And then I'm just gonna carefully, without getting it all over my nice little leggings that don't have a lot of paint on them yet, okay, we're gonna put some paint into here. I do this, and Bobby, you know why, but I do it so that I don't contaminate my jar of paint any more than I need to. Oh, I got a little debris there. Hold on. You know, speaking of contaminating, you know, sometimes you just can't help it. It just gets in there. The little dried bits at the edge fall in. It happens. Okay. Let's lightly seal this up because we're going to get it out and do the sea spray. I'm going to do it a different way this time. I'm really excited about that. I don't have my nice brush handy, so we are going to use the Scarlet brush. That's okay, because this is the chalk style paint. It will level nicely if I get it to a nice wet consistency. You don't want it runny, but you can certainly add water as you paint. You can do that by adding a little water to your container. As you saw, I added some to the bristles of my brush, and you can also spray your piece. Okay? This is the continuous mist sprayer. It's really cool. All right. I'm going to move this out a little bit so that I can kind of come from behind. All right, so hopefully I'll be able to reach everything well. Now the primer we started yesterday, I like to give it an hour or two, you know, depending on your temperature and humidity and all that, a good, you know, amount to dry. Between layer 1 and 2, this sucker dried super fast. It soaked right in. This wood, You know, the style, it seems to me like it could go back to the 40s. That furniture company, Rockford Furniture Company, was around back then. It was around in the 1800s, I believe, when I looked it up. So it's quite possible. Oh, I got another little piece of debris in there. I'm getting a messy jar there. I might have to go ahead and filter it. If you get a jar that just happens to get a lot of debris in it, the hardware stores do sell paint filters. I hate doing that because it's kind of like watching the water boil. You got to put it through. It's like a paper, almost like the coffee filter. And you got to sit there and wait for it to kind of drip through. If you know it's bigger pieces, you can just put it through like a colander. That's why it's good to hit like the yard sales and thrift shops. I like to have strainers, colanders for stuff like that. So even though this isn't my real fine bristle brush, I'm not too concerned. If I get messy brush strokes, this will sand down really nice. And in fact, whenever I'm using a chalk style paint, I always give it a light sand, even if it's with my finishing pad. All right? It doesn't even have to be the damp sanding sponge or a sandpaper. It just by that burnishing of it, it softens up all the little materials in here, and the paint just feels like butter after. And whenever you're painting, and I don't know if I talked about it in the priming stage, I like to get the paint or your primer on. You don't always get that time with your top coats, but if you do, get it on, and then you always want to do it with the grain, okay? If you get these little bits, you can back brush it a little bit before it sets. It's a little bit tougher when it's top coat. Sometimes you just have to let it dry, because sometimes you make more of a mess trying to pick out your little debris. And then the last stroke, I barely touched my brush on there. And I did this technique for my primer, and there are no brush strokes. Of course, I did that sanding in between coats 2 and 3, but this is just a nice way of doing it. Even though this brush isn't as fine a bristle as my oval brush that I was using for the primer, should I get any spots that I don't like, I can take a damp sanding sponge or my finishing pad and just kind of burnish it down lightly. And burnish it means like sand it, okay? And if I do that within the 24 hours, like in a couple hours, I come over and I do it with a damp finishing pad or sanding sponge, it will really just sort of activate the paint and really blend that nice together. You won't get those brush strokes. All right. I'm going to have to add more paint to my palette. And I took all that time and I got rid of all my finish on here, and I decided that I'm painting it. I don't always, whoop-a-daisy. I don't always bring back my finish to raw when I don't need to. It just happened that way. I wasn't sure what I was doing when I started the project. I thought about staining, and then as the idea kept coming into my head, I decided not to stain. So, there's that. Let's stir this up again. And actually some of these bits can actually be coming from my little palette here. I should have picked a better palette. I'm noticing this now. This is Driftwood. This driftwood and fluff combination is a really nice paint combination. Because driftwood is a warm gray, fluff is a warm white. It is white, but it's not that stark white. And it's not like buttercream, okay? It's an in-between. It's its own thing. When I first was doing the whites, I was doing the bright whites. And I'm really loving fluff. I really do. If you're watching, well, no matter what avenue you're watching on, please feel free to pop on and say hello, what you're up to, where you're from. I'm hoping you're creating today. What are you up to, Bobby? Are you making anything fun? Are you knitting? Still love our hats. Joe was wearing his hat last week. Thank you, thank you. I got a sewing machine I got to get comfortable with. I was hoping to, my weekend off here, we actually was like, we woke up on like Sunday and Joe was like, do we really, we don't really have anything to get up and go do today? It's like, yeah. That's right, we get to sleep in. We get to be bums today. Because it's just been go, 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 go. And of course, closing the store isn't helping the matter. So, we ended up coming in, not on Sunday, but on Monday and Tuesday and packing up some bags. But, we came in when we were ready to. So that was nice. But I was hoping to get to the sewing machine, but, they want feedback to make sure I'm happy with my purchase, and I'm like, I got them out of the box. That's all I did. They look good. I don't see anything broken. I'm assuming they work. Joe bought me the serger. Because, when I was sewing, sergers were just kind of coming out, and my grandmother, she taught sewing, so of course she had a serger, but it wasn't like everyone had that. But I do, even though I don't know how to use it, I do know that I'm going to use it, and I'm going to be using it a lot for sewing. And I'm really digging the idea of course, my sweater is going to get paint all over it. Oh, well. I've had it quite a while, and I've had good luck. So today's the day it gets paint on it, I guess. So, it's in my paint collection, my paint wardrobe, so it's going to happen. So I see a couple spots I always find that the edge either opens up more, or I just failed to sand it as smooth as the rest of the piece. I don't know what it is for me, but so that's driftwood. Okay, so now we can let that dry, and I'm going to soak my brush. Now I'm going to I gotta get some sea spray over here. This is the same thing as some companies have. It's called salt wash. All right, I'm going to add it to the paint, and it's going to give us a really cool texture. So there is some, I don't know what this is here. It's not like it's chew damage. It's just like some missing holes of wood. So I haven't decided if I'm going to leave that as part of the story or if I'm going to fill that. But we have time to decide that. All right, I'm just kind of taking my finger to get the paint in there. And I also use it to wipe off the excess because, I'm a painter. I'm not afraid to get paint on me. Right? Okay. This is really professional, isn't it? But my paintbrush is now in the water, and I don't want to dirty up another brush just to do this. So here we go. Linda at her finest. And, I'm really curious. We're talking about doing more with the clothes. I just saw, like I said, I've been seeing a lot of the furniture painters doing so much more with the clothes. And this was one of the decisions in going ahead and getting the sewing machine. The one I have at home before is just, it's old, and it was an introductory Husqvarna Viking, sewing machine. It's not great. I was due for one. And then with everything going on, I've been seeing more and more people doing things with paint and clothes. And I've already been kind of playing with that anyways in the past. I've did the t-shirts, I've done jeans. I got a pile that I just still haven't gotten to. And in this interim of me trying to move and pack and stuff, I have different projects that I have set aside that I'm going to just do lives on in between, right? Like I have this shell. I've been meaning to try to see doing foil on the shells. Some of these shells, I don't even know. I think people are donating shells in my crushed shells outside, because every now and then I find a beautiful shell. And so I thought, well, let's just try putting foil on there. I thought we're going to make some of these shells with like Easter colors. Instead of Easter eggs, we have Easter shells, right? So that was a thought. I've got different like tops. There's some that I bleached that I thought we would stamp for an IOD video and a whim, and I just have never gotten to them. So that's something I'd like to get to before we get out of here. I got that Santa. I don't know if you remember, we were talking about the Santa that I still need to tear it apart and fix it. Thought we would do that on a live before I get out of here. There's this things, okay? Oh, I didn't get paint on there. That's okay. We'll get to that. All right, so now for the Driftwood Sea Spray. All right, let's empty this in here, because this palette I don't like anyways. And if I get some added texture in the sea spray, I won't be offended to it, because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to add texture, for goodness sake. So, except this, it almost looks like a stick. That won't be good. Let's get rid of that. Boy, this driftwood got really messy. I don't like that. I'm going to have to get a filter if I don't use it up on the sea spray. I'm not happy with that. So I'm just trying to move over my messy driftwood here. All right, and then we'll add more from my jar. Okay. So this is all a matter of preference when we're working with sea spray, or in some people's case, salt wash. I'm going to start with a decent amount, because I'm going to do it at least to the whole sides of the piece. And I'm thinking the drawers. I think I'm doing it to the drawers too. You sewed during home ec and school. Used to make most of my dresses, etc. Haven't done too much sewing lately besides ruffle rolls. I know, it's funny, when you get out of it, you get out of it. Like me with my knitting and crocheting. But that's almost by choice, because I know there's been times where I was like, well, like this, something like this weekend, right? Last winter, there was a couple of days where like, what do I do today? I could get out my knitting bag. But the problem is when I do that, all right, getting out the knitting and crocheting bag, it becomes an obsession. And so it's like I better be willing to get hooked again, because otherwise it might be months before I come out of that. So you did. So Bobby said she was watching Mama did a little watercolor paperwork earlier. Nice. I'm really digging some of these videos that people have of the metallic watercolors. Have you tried that? So this mixture, I'm going to